Well, good morning, everybody. Morning for me anyway. So it's a lovely 6 a.m. here in Australia. So I've gotten up early to have a chat with everyone. So today we are going to have a bit of a look at how to use shortcuts on the desktop to make Breeze a little smarter, I suppose. The good and bad thing about Breeze is that there's 10 different ways you can do things. The problem is that not all of us know those 10 different ways, and usually we only know one way, and we've been doing things that same way since we got the software. So hopefully this will give you a bit of insight into how to get the most out of Breeze and to do things a little better. And this really is based on just practical experience from using Breeze within our own rental business ourselves. So what we're going to do, I'm going to run through how this all works and show you a few tips and tricks, and then at the end we can have a bit of a Q&A session. So if you have any specific questions, you can just post them in the comments, and we can have a bit of a chat about that. One thing I did want to say before I start is that really, because we run a business with about got 20-something photo booths, it's really important for us to have our computers and our software, and especially Breeze, set up in a way that makes it very easy for our staff to use, because trying to support multiple staff and photo booths when you've got a lot of events running at the same time can be quite challenging. So anything that we can do to make life easier for our people, we're definitely going to do. But I think it's still important that even if you're a single operator making life easy for yourself, or even if you only have one or two staff members or one or two photo booths, you still want to sort of set things up as simply as possible, so you're not spending all your time trying to fix problems and just wasting time doing things the hard way. So we're going to jump into it. So basically, the way I think most people would use Breeze is that they would launch the icon, and for most of us, if you're doing things the same way, event in, event out, then you probably just come in and basically hit the start button, and off you go, and you load your print layout in first, and then off you go. The way for people that have different sets of settings, you would then usually come into admin section over here, or photo booth settings rather, and you would come down to the load button, and you would browse to your wherever you've got all your settings saved. So in this case, photo booth images, come to this folder, and I pick my settings file and I load it, and then I've loaded a different set of settings, and that's a totally acceptable way of doing things. But there's actually we got an audio problem again. Just bear with me one sec. Could someone just confirm if we have? Can someone confirm if we have audio? Okay, thanks, Rodolfo. Just wanted to double check, because last time we had some audio issues, and then I looked rather stupid talking for 10 minutes without audio. Thanks, Sue. Perfect. Excellent. Good. George. Excellent. Right, we'll go back to it. Good. Okay, here we go. What was I saying? Yeah, so basically for a lot of us, the way we load different sets of settings is by just doing it manually through the settings sections, loading, picking the settings file and doing it this way, which, as I said, is a totally fine way of doing it. But there is a better way of doing it. Well, I think so anyway. So the way we have Breeze set up for our business is that on the desktop of every photo booth, we have this folder here called Breeze. And inside this folder, we have a whole bunch of different shortcuts. And some of those shortcuts are to important Windows functions, so the control panel, because from time to time staff need access to that. The firewall, and importantly also printers. So we put some of those basic shortcuts into this folder just to make it easy for staff to find those things. But the way we have it for Breeze is like this. So in our business, we essentially do two types of events. We do corporate events and we do social events. And then within each of those, the event could be Boomerang GIF, or it might be we're just taking photos, or it could be that we're doing photos and Boomerang GIF. So basically we have created 6 sets of settings for all those different scenarios. So those settings files can actually be linked to a shortcut that you can have on your desktop. So when you launch it, it automatically loads Breeze with those specific set of settings. And this makes it incredibly easy for our staff, because when they do an event, if they know that it's a social event with photo booth and or say photo booth only, they come to the desktop and they pick the icon here that's called social pho for short, and they double click that and it launches Breeze, and this is the settings that we have that are specific for social events for photos only. If, on the other hand, they're doing an event that is a corporate event and it's photo booth and Boomerang GIF, they pick the icon here, which is corporate pho plus GIF, and they double click this one, and when they hit the start button, now it's loaded our corporate setup. So our staff don't need to worry about going into settings and loading anything like this. All they need to know is that what sort of event they're doing, and they just pick the relevant icon from the desktop. And this really does make it a lot easier to train staff, because you're not having to really explain the inner workings of Breeze. It's basically what kind of event are you doing, pick the right icon, launch it, and off you go. Load your print layout in. And so that's really the main functions that we need to teach our staff, and so it does simplify the whole process. So how do we set one of these icons up? Well, it's actually pretty straightforward. So if we go back to the desktop here, and if we take, say, the original Breeze icon, and if we make a copy of it, what we want to do then is basically go find one of our settings files. So I've got mine, a whole bunch of them in Documents, Photo Booth Images. I'm just going to pick, say, this corporate GIF one. And what I want to do is find the settings file that we've saved previously. Now it doesn't matter where this settings file has been saved. It'll work no matter where it is. So don't worry about that. So basically we need to get the full path to where that settings file is saved. So to do that, easiest way is to come up here and we just type in a backslash and just start typing the name of the settings file, down arrow on it to select it, and then we can just select this entire path here. Right click on it to copy it. So now we've got a copy of the path to our settings file. Now what we need to do with that is go to this the desktop shortcut here that we just duplicated before. Right click on it, come down to properties, and then we want to look at the target field here. So this target field here is basically telling the icon which program to actually launch. and obviously it defaults to DSLR Remote Pro. What we want to do is add to the end of this the settings file. And so when we add the path to the settings file to this shortcut, what it's going to do is launch DSLR Remote Pro, and at the same time load that particular settings file as well. So you need to paste it in right at the very end, to put a space between it, but importantly you need to put it in inverted commas. So we'll go Shift, inverted commas, Control, paste, and then inverted commas again at the end. Close that, save that, and we'll be responsible, and we'll rename this to, I think it was corporate GIF Fo, or however you want to do it. So now when we double click that icon and hit start, it's loaded our corporate GIF profile. Simple as that. So if we want to create another one, we can just create another copy of this icon on the desktop, and we'll go back to, so we'll pick this social photo booth GIF one, and we find the settings file is there. Yep, that's great. So we come up the top here, backslash, we'll just start typing in the name of the settings file, down arrow to select it, copy all the text, right click it, and close that one, come back to the icon we've created, right click on it, properties, to the target box here, going right to the very end, put a space, and in between inverted commas we just want to paste in the path to that settings file. We close it, and we be helpful to our staff and we rename it social. I think that one definitely wants social GIF and photo booth, like that. We double click it, hit the start button, and there we go. So now we've created two desktop shortcuts. I'll switch back to this view. So we create two desktop shortcuts, one for our social event, one for our corporate event, and now anytime our staff need to use Breeze to do one of these events, they can go, oh, it's a corporate event. I just double click this icon, and when I hit start, there we go, I'm in my corporate profile. And if it's a social event, double click this one, and then I'm in into my social profile. Tony, inverted commas, I don't know what you call them in wherever you're from, Stumptown, but quote marks, you know, these things, the things that you put around quotes, we call them inverted commas. If someone wants to let me know what you actually call them outside of Australia, I can deal with that. But basically, you have to put the path in these things, if that's helpful. Quotation marks. Sorry, we call them inverted commas. I don't know why. That's just what I know them as. But sorry. Replace inverted commas with quotations, and you'll be good to go. Single quotes. Okay, yep, thanks Tony. Quotations, inverted commas, yep. 10 different names, and they're probably something different in German as well. But that's fine. What I also wanted to show you is what happens if you make a mistake when you're posting that path in, because putting the wrong path in will also not work. So let's just go and edit this one, and let's just say we forgot to put a quotation in, or a single comma, or a inverted comma, and we close that. If we now go to launch it, maybe that does it. Maybe you don't need the commas. I actually thought you did. I put them in quotes, so let's try and break it another way. Let's pretend that we didn't Let's pretend we didn't paste in the last couple letters of the file name. That should break it. There we go. So if you paste in the path wrong, you've made a typo or something, when you've pasted it into that target box, into the shortcut, it'll throw up, Breeze will throw up an error saying that it can't find the settings file. But if you look closely at the error there, it actually will tell you what it's looking for. And if you pay close attention, you can see in this particular case that the .xml is not all there, and that's what the mistake is, so you could fix it. So basically, if you get it wrong, Breeze will throw up an error and sort of let you know. So that's sort of the gist of it, really. It really does make life a lot easier for staff to use Breeze when they just have to pick the right icon on the desktop to get started, rather than having to load in settings and trawl through your computer looking for settings files to manually load in. So I would highly recommend setting Breeze up this way on the desktop. You can sort of take this to a whole other level with a few more advanced features in Breeze that I'm not going to go into today. But this is sort of just the beginning of what you can do with this side of things. And for anyone that's used some of our lab stuff, our lab themes, and have wondered how we've done the desktop shortcut, it's a similar principle to this, but the lab stuff is doing a few extra tricky things that I know can be frustrating for some people when you're trying to switch back to your original settings. So maybe in the next week or so I'll do a second video on how to take this to the next level and use some more advanced features to actually do even more with this. And for those of you that are running multiple photo booths, probably one of the best things you can do with this is to actually manage it all remotely. So the way we have it set up in our business is that all these shortcuts can actually be created from our main computer in the office, and they automatically go into the desktop of our photo booth. So in a way, we've sort of managed to create like a mini cloud version of Breeze where we can centrally control all the settings for all our users. And I should add, one thing that we also do for our staff and for our photo booths is that if we have an event that requires a specific version of Breeze or specific tweaks to Breeze, like it might be a different background image on the interface, or we're swapping in a company's logo on the countdown screen or something like that, what we do is duplicate our settings and we create a specific version for that particular event. So if it's an event for Coca-Cola, we'd actually create a set of settings for Coca-Cola, and we would create a Coca-Cola shortcut on the desktop. So our staff know that when they're doing this event, they just launch the Coca-Cola shortcut, and then they just get the version of Breeze that's set up specifically for that event. So yeah, so just by that little process of saving your settings files into desktop shortcuts really will make a massive difference to how you use Breeze, both for yourself and for your staff. So if anyone has any questions on that, then you may ask away and I'll do my best to answer them. So I'll wait here for the internet to catch up. We can discuss the ins and outs of the English language and what we call quotes. But if no one has any questions, that's also fine. I guess I did such a good job that you all know how to do it, or such a terrible job that no one understands anything I've said. Tony, does it make sense to you? Either Tony? How do we remotely manage our booths from our main computer? Well, we use Resilio Sync, which is essentially like Dropbox but better. Basically, there's a little trick. A little trick in Breeze with settings that I'll quickly show you, which I will cover off another time. In your settings files, if you've ever taken a folder of screen images and settings and moved it to another computer, and then Breeze complains that it can't find the folder when you start it, if we just open up a settings file here, basically this is probably not the best way to show you, but one of the first things in the settings file, it puts in the path of where your folder of screen images are, and it links it to, here we go, so this folder here. You can make this basically relative by just putting in a single dot. And so basically what that dot essentially does is tells Breeze, this settings file is in the same place as my screen images. So I'm not going to go into detail now because I'll actually do a whole separate thing on it. But when you set your settings file up like that, it means you can actually take that whole folder and move it to any computer you want, and it will just work, which sort of makes it transportable. But by doing that, we can set up all our settings on a central computer and then sync it out to all the photo booths. And the trick is with the desktop shortcuts is this. So basically, this folder here syncs back to our Office. So everything in here syncs back to our Office, including this folder here called Breeze Shortcuts. Now, all we've done with this, we've created a shortcut to this shortcut folder to the desktop. So basically, this folder here on the desktop is a shortcut to this one here. And this folder syncs back to our Office. So anything that we put in this shortcuts folder in the Office syncs all the way back to the desktop on this photo booth. So that's how we do that in detail. This should work with any version of Breeze that has settings files. It's actually not, well, I should confirm that with Chris. As far as I'm aware, it should go back quite a few, quite a while. This is not anything particularly new. Thelma, this is being recorded, so this will get put up on the Breeze blog, hopefully. So we'll definitely got to rewatch it. Any other questions? Nope. All right, well, hopefully that was of some help. So yeah, don't forget, use shortcuts on the desktop to link your settings files. It will be awesome. It will change your life, and you should definitely do it. So for now, unless anyone's got any last minute questions, I'll just hang on for one more minute. If so, I'll jump into the comments afterwards. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, guys.